All right, guys, what's going on? Chad here with Riding the Peptide. Sorry about that. We're just trying to get things tuned in here. And I'm so excited that you are joining in with us today. If you haven't joined yet, welcome. When you get here, make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Get it out there. Hit that like button. Just get this video out there by helping us by doing that. Today, I'm super excited to be sharing some things about GLP-1s, sharing things about Mounjaro, diabetes, weight loss, and all the things in between. But today, I'm super excited because we have a special guest with us on the show right from Illinois. And I'm super excited to hear his story today. I've known Todd for a while now, and he is a business colleague of mine. We work together in the business that we are into, but we all also have a thing in common, and we're going to talk more about that on this live stream. So as I say every time when you join our stream, make sure you put in the comments in the chat where you are tuning in from, where you are at as far as what are you taking as far as your milligrams on Mounjaro, and also let us know, how much weight have you lost? We would love to know, and that's why we're here. And we're here to share with you guys our experience on Mounjaro and GLP-1. So with that said, guys, I'm super excited about the show. Last week, if you didn't catch it, I actually had my mom on here. She talked about diabetes and how Mounjaro has changed her life completely. She's lost a lot of weight. So yeah, let us know in the comments if you have any questions for our guests. But I'm super excited to announce my guest today on the show. Without further ado, make sure you welcome Todd Hudson. What's going on, Todd?
Hey, Chad. Good to see you again, bud.
It's good to see you, man. It's good to have you on the show today. We're going to talk about some things that that you've been experiencing for a while now, being on Mounjaro. Now, it's my understanding when I first started talking to you about weight loss and just diabetes, I believe it's back in like February, March of this year, you were losing weight on a certain weight loss regimen that you were on. I believe you were taking some type of shake or something. You want to explain kind of your beginnings of this and I guess kind of go from there?
Yeah. Well, like I said, my name is Todd Hudson. I'm 47 years old. And I've been diabetic for a long time, and I've been overweight a long, long time. But a friend of mine lost a bunch of weight, and I thought, well, I know I need to, like I ought to. So I jumped in. Started that in October of last year. Actually, October 24th was the day that I started back in 2022. And so I've been on that just barely over a year. And it was about in February of the following year that we were talking about it. I'd lost quite a bit of weight, and it was the following month in March that actually I switched all of my diabetes medicine. We went over to Mounjaro and started phasing other medicines out, and so that's how I got involved with the GLP-1s.
That's awesome, man. So so we know you're from Illinois. Where exactly are you at in Illinois?
Yeah, Peoria, Illinois. We're right in the middle of the state. If you draw a straight line between Chicago and St. Louis, it's almost in the middle between the two. So whenever you open up something about Illinois and you're seeing nothing but skyscrapers, that's not us. We got cornfields, and but if you've ever seen a Caterpillar tractor, we're the home of that. That's where it started. Nice.
Awesome. So if we have anybody tuning in from Illinois, go ahead and drop it in the chat. We would love to know where you're from. I've been to Chicago a couple of times. I know it's not exactly where you're at, but it's kind of interesting that area up toward the north, up there by Lake Michigan. I thought it was pretty awesome seeing all the stuff up there. So how far of a drive do you think it is from where you're at to Chicago?
Most days around 3 hours. Wow. If traffic isn't bad, you can make it a little bit faster. And if construction and traffic are both bad, 4.5, man, get ready to sit.
Yeah. Traffic's pretty crazy there in Chicago, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I'm sure it's probably nothing like New York or anything like that, or New Jersey, but man, it's definitely not Kansas, right?
No, no. This
You
area
go,
is more like, well, where you live, you got more traffic than where I live. So
yeah, but you probably have people that know how to drive too. Here in
I
Kansas, nobody knows how to drive. Everybody
wouldn't count on
drives
that,
as
man.
slow
Bad
as
drivers are
possible.
everywhere.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, awesome, man. Well, I'm super excited for the show today. I'm super excited to have you on here, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come and join us on the show. This is a passion of mine. Diabetes is a major passion of mine. I've struggled with it for the last 15 years and chronicled this on my channel with numerous videos going over different ways of weight loss that I've experienced and ways to get my blood sugars under control, and going over different things that they are coming out with studies and findings with these GLP-1s, specifically like semaglutide. They're talking about it's helping with heart failure, heart disease, Parkinson's disease, onset dementia. The list goes on all the way to like addiction. A lot of people are addicted to alcohol. They're addicted to spending money, shopping, smoking, obviously. And basically what it's doing is it's making that reward system in the lobe of your brain release less endorphins, which makes it not so satisfying to act out on that addiction, whether that be like a compulsive spending issue or going to a casino, spending money. It just basically makes it where it's just not that fun to do anymore. So I think it's really, really incredible. I think, and I've talked, as I said, numerous times on this channel about how it's amazing to see how this medication in general with GLP-1s, not just necessarily Mounjaro, because we've got semaglutide, which is going to be your Wegovy. It's going to be your Ozempic if you're a diabetic, and dulaglutide, which is going to be the Trulicity. All these GLP-1s, there's so many different names and different compounds of it, but the GLP-1, basically, it slows down the digestion in your stomach, and it helps you regulate your blood sugars, which also helps with weight loss. So a lot of people succeed on this medication when it comes to weight loss. And I've seen that you've lost a lot of weight. I've lost a lot of weight. And so we're just going to talk about this today. We're going to talk about your story. We hear about all the things that's coming out. We hear about different people's upbringing, what led them to the GLP-1, what has been their experience since they've been on a GLP-1 and where they're at now. And what do you see yourself doing in the next, year or so? So we're going to first ask the first question that I like to ask my guests on this show. How old are you, Todd?
47.
47 years old.
Old enough to know better by now.
47 years young, I guess I should say. 47. Okay. Well, you've got me by a few years. So 47. Awesome. Okay. So the question that I have for you that I've been wondering, how long, Todd, have you had diabetes?
It's actually pretty easy to figure out. It's been 24 years since I was first diagnosed.
Wow. The guys, that is a long time to have diabetes.
Yeah.
I thought I had diabetes for a long time. I've had diabetes for about 15 years. But 24 years, man, you've got me beat, buddy. So, that's so. What led you to discovering your diabetes?
It was, kind of a crazy story. I took a job at a machine shop, and we also had a foundry, right? Two separate buildings, and the foundry was a high lead environment. So everybody who started in the foundry got a blood lead test just to get a baseline, right? Just for safety. And they would select certain people out of the machine shop and have their blood lead taken when they hired on too, just in case there was any kind of a transfer. I happened to be one of the people that was set up for that, just to take my blood lead levels early. And when the results came back, the nurse that was giving me the results said, "Yeah, your blood lead looks fine, nothing, but you should go see your doctor." What do you mean, But she just said, "Yeah, you should go see your doctor." So I went and saw my doctor, and they're like, "Oh yeah, look at this, you have diabetes." And I'm like, "What? Who knew?" So
wow,
that was how I found out.
That's crazy. So when I first was diagnosed with diabetes, I actually had gotten a phone call, and it was kind of interesting because I'd just gotten married, and I went to Florida and got one of those meal deal passes where I was just gorging myself, eating like every time I turned around, I was eating something. And
You got to make it worth the cost, right?
yeah, yeah. And I mean, I was close to about 300 pounds when I had proposed to my wife. And this was back in, this is Halloween. Actually, we're almost exactly, we're almost exactly about, well, 2008. So 15 years ago on the 31st, I proposed to my wife in Branson, Missouri, and I was at 300 pounds. And so from October 31st to January, I had lost like 50 pounds, and it was unexpected. I was not working out. I was not doing anything. I was definitely not, dieting or eating right.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to the doctor, and they had said, well, before I went to the doctor, I drank like almost a whole gallon of sweet tea. So, no, it did not. So when I got there and got my blood work, I'd left, and a couple of days later, they called me and said, Chad, you have type 2 diabetes. And I'm like thinking, okay, hold on a minute. I don't have diabetes. I know what happened. I just drank a whole thing of sweet tea. So my blood sugars that's the problem. And they're like, no, your blood sugars are showing that you are a diabetic. So in my way of thinking back then, because I didn't know anything what type 2 diabetes was, just the name. And I'm like, well, are you sure it's not because I just drank a whole lot of sweet tea? No, it wasn't. So then they got me on all kinds of the medicine, the metformin that, a lot of people can't take because of GI issues. I've been on metformin practically since I started. I'm on 2,000 milligrams a day. I take one in the morning, one at night. I'm not going to lie. I did get to the point where I stopped taking it because this GLP-1 has been so good, but my doctor's like, well, you still need to take it. But yeah, it's an interesting story because, and I don't know why I'm telling you all this stuff because you were my guest, but just kind of, I guess, telling you, because most of the audience probably knows if they follow my channel, that it's been about 15 years and I could never, and I mean, Todd, never, ever get anything to work for me when it came to diabetes, ever. I mean, I may have had something that may have lowered my blood sugar a little bit, but definitely not enough. So, so 20, you said 20, how many years was it?
years.
24 years, man, guys. Give him a like in the comments, guys, because he's been dealing with this for 24 years. That's a long time to be dealing with diabetes. Now, I'm sure somebody's going to say, hey, I've had diabetes for 50 years. If you've had diabetes for 50 years, you're doing something good.
Yeah.
You must be living right or something. My whole deal is I just never thought I was going to live past, my 40s with my blood sugars never being under control. So, okay. So, the question that I have here on the list is, have you ever taken a GLP-1 before Mounjaro?
No, this is my first one.
Wow.
First time.
That's great. You just jumped right on the wagon of the best.
Yeah. Like I said, I lost a bunch of weight, and after I talked to you about a month later, I had a doctor's appointment, and I'd lost all the weight. My A1C when I went in, my A1C when I started my diet, about a year ago, was 7.8.
Wow.
Now, not the highest, but a little high, right?
It's better than 11, but yeah, it is. It's higher than you want it for sure.
So when it came around to the next blood test in March, after losing all the weight and the diet that I was on, I was at 5.2.
I believe it. That's like pre-diet. That's, I don't even think that's even pre-diabetes.
No, it's not.
Pre-diabetes is like
in an unmedicated state, I was normal.
Yeah.
But I had stopped. I'd been phasing off of medicines as I had been losing weight. But when I was talking to my doctor, I told him that, a colleague had told me about Mounjaro. I'm not really sure about it. Like, am I a candidate? Am I not a candidate? You know, what do you think? And
Right.
and I told him, I said, more than anything, I said, I'm a different person now. So if I just walked into your office, no medical history, what medicines would you put me on? And he said, probably Mounjaro. And I said, well, then let's give it a try. Right. So at that point, he ended 2 of my other medicines and had me start tapering back on the third. And then I just had a doctor's appointment, a couple of weeks ago, and he pulled me off. I'm down to 1 medicine for ADHD, completely separate. And then Mounjaro, that's it. I'm down to 2 medications.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was 5 prescriptions before. So twice a day with pills and insulin. And now I got 1 shot a week and then a pill I take every morning. Right. So, and that's it.
Wow. So when you talked to your doctor about the Mounjaro, was that after I mentioned Mounjaro to you?
Yeah.
So this was going to be your second time hearing about Mounjaro.
Yeah. I'd never heard of Mounjaro when you told me about it. And my experience has been with a lot of my doctors, they don't seem to bring up stuff with me very often. Not like, hey, there's this new thing out here, maybe you ought to try it.
Sure.
So I asked him, I said, hey, you know, what do you think? And as soon as I brought it up, it wasn't like, it was like, forget that, you know. No, he was really open to it and said that it was probably the right thing for me. So
that's awesome. That is awesome. Well, so, you know, obviously we know it's working for you. And the next question is, how did it work for you and what dose did you take? Now, we know that it's worked for you. So did he just start you right on the 2.5 or did he put you on the 5 milligrams? Because a lot of people, they'll either start on the 2.5, like maybe like a sample, or they'll go right into, you know, the 2.5 starting out. So I'm just curious, what doses did you start out with?
Yeah, he started me with the 2.5, and then I went up. You know, it was like each month he was moving me up. And then as I was watching my blood sugars, I was still on, I wasn't on any medicine for diabetes, but I was on lisinopril and atorvastatin, you know, for the heart and everything. But as it started to build up in my system, I would let my doctor know, hey, my blood sugars are about here. I don't know if it's time to move up or not. And he would, you know, he'd pause and we'd go 2 months in a row and then we'd move up a little bit again. So eventually I worked up to a 10, which is where I'm at now.
Awesome. 10.
Yeah.
So 10's working pretty well for you, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been at 10 for a couple of months. And now just since and the big thing was my cholesterol from the time I took the Mounjaro, we reduced my atorvastatin and lisinopril down to the lowest dose that they make. And my doctor just wanted to see where my blood work would come back, you know, after 6 months. Got that blood work back and my cholesterol was 115. My triglycerides were at 70 or no.
Wow.
No, lower than 70. It was, my triglycerides were at 30. We're at 30. So he's pulled me off of those as well. So it was, now that he's pulled me off of that other things, he wants to watch it for a couple of months and then he may adjust from there.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I always get excited and just glad when I hear the success that this brings to people.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it really, I mean, the last 24 years of being a diabetic, was it out of control? I mean, did you ever get to the point where your blood sugars were excessively high? You know, what exactly did you do to control your diabetes before Mounjaro? I know you said that it was 7 something at one time.
Yeah, 7.8. Yeah. I've had A1Cs. I think the highest A1C that I remember, it was like an 8.5 or something. But for the most part, I kind of bounced between 6 and 7.2, somewhere in there. but you know, always if it got a little bit high, we'd change medications, and it would knock it back down, and then over time, oh, now I'm high again. We'd have to knock, you know, change medications, and it was you were constantly fighting that, but it was, I don't know. It's been a long road where you had said something earlier about, you know, nothing worked for you. I would say for the most part, before I started this weight loss journey, I would have said things were working for me, but I didn't know what working for me meant, you know?
Right. Sure.
Because what worked for me that's totally different now.
Right.
Working for me back then was, it was below, you know, if I had an A1C below 7, you know, my doctor seemed to be pretty happy with that. So as long as I could keep my A1C below 7, then it's working. Well, I mean, it wasn't working.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, it's crazy to think that, you know, the mindset you had before before you're introduced to something that's life-changing, you know, you just never know, you know.
Yeah.
I'm a man of faith, you know, and you just never know until you experience something that's greater than what you've always known.
Absolutely.
You know, and so just trying out these new medications, you know, it was a temporary fix, it seems like, you know, for you, from what I've understood. You know, you would go so long and you'd be doing okay, and then all of a sudden, boom, your numbers would go high, and we need to figure out another alternative. You know, that could get really, really tiring and very, very frustrating over time of, you know, just trying to single in and find something that is going to be consistent and actually going to change, you know. And that's the thing about medications that you take. That's not a GLP. It's like a temporary fix. It's just trying to treat the, it's trying to treat the symptom instead of the actual problem, you know. And it's like the GLP-1, like Mounjaro or semaglutide, they're actually working as a hormone, mimicking a hormone. It's not just trying to necessarily change a symptom that you're having. It's actually going to the root problem and trying to alter where it's coming from, if that makes sense. So, but it's really, really cool to see how the change happened in your life. I mean, the same change. I always say it. I say it all the time, and I'm going to say it again. If I had a bell right now to ring it, Mounjaro is a game changer. It is a life changer. It has changed my life. You know, I used to go to the bathroom throughout the whole night, all the time. I mean, I had sleep apnea. I couldn't even use my CPAP machine because I was going to the bathroom all throughout the night because of diabetes. And once I started taking Mounjaro, it absolutely changed everything. Now, I didn't necessarily lose all the weight in the get-go, but my blood sugars got under control, and then the weight followed, which I'm super excited about it because, you know, I'm not necessarily, and I say this all the time, I'm not necessarily trying to lose any more weight. You know, I think I look fine. I'm not depressed by the way I look. I'm not, you know, and that's the thing, you know, with obesity, it can cause depression, you know, not just physically seeing yourself out of, you know, shape and unhealthy, but it does a psychological thing on your mind. And just, you know, I think the chemicals in your body, I think it has a lot to do with a whole lot of things when it comes to your body chemistry and being obese. But my issues now are nothing like they used to be. You know, my issues now is like neuropathy pain. Anybody out there tuning in ever have any neuropathy issues? Give us a like and make sure you drop a comment, because I want to know how many of you guys struggle with neuropathy. Now, a reason why I struggle with neuropathy is because I have dealt with diabetes for so long, and it was under control. It was not under control. Sorry. It was not controlled. It was completely ridiculously out of control. I mean, I think my last A1C before I got on Mounjaro, Todd, was 11, and it was continuously climbing. I remember being in Florida and I was miserable. My feet were on fire all the time because of neuropathy. Now, I am taking something that's treating it, and it does a really great job, but that's my main issues. It's not because, oh, my blood sugars are out of control. It's really crazy and interesting. And I don't know what you do as far as, a CGM. Do you do any continuous glucose monitoring meters?
Yeah, with the camera.
Oh, so you have the Freestyle Libra.
Yep.
Is that the version 2?
No, I use the original, man.
Oh, that's the first one. Okay.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't drain my phone battery as much.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So I have the 3, the sensor 3. I started out with the 1. I went to the 2. And the reason why I have the 3 is because I don't have to necessarily use my phone all the time to scan it. So I did do a couple of videos really just talking trash on Freestyle Abbott, Freestyle Libra, how crappy they are when it comes to having sensors that just crap out on you when you put them on. They just have error, and then you got to get a hold of Abbott. You have to tell them, hey, I have a sensor that went out, and then they ask you a million questions. You know, you got to get on your phone, and then you have to send it back, and then 3 days later you get another one. So I started with the 3rd one, and I had issues with that, and I stopped taking it because I thought, Jesus, this is retarded. You know, I'm spending like, you know, however much it was every 2 weeks for a meter, but it keeps on messing up. And so I ended up, first I discovered if I moved it from my arm into my chest, you know, I thought, well, maybe I could just try something different. Since I have the 3rd one, I don't have to scan it. Nobody will see it on my arm. You know, when I reach down to grab something, you know, I was actually in McDonald's one time out of all places. And I was picking up an order, and I reached down to pick it up, and a lady goes, oh, you got a meter like me. And she lifted up her shirt, and I was like, that's just too much. Stop right there. I don't want to see that.
Right.
But it's just not that necessarily that I'm ashamed of having it, but more of the fact that I just want more privacy. And, you know, sometimes I just don't like to be asked a million questions out in public, you know, especially when I'm busy with the kids and my wife and stuff. But I did that. I put it on my chest. I alternate it. I don't have compression readings from laying on my chest because I'm a side sleeper and back sleeper, but it wasn't working. I stopped taking it because my blood sugars were so dang good under control. I thought, why do I need to continue to check it all the time and pay this money? Well, now I started again, and the last 3 sensors have been great. But the reason why I like it is because not necessarily to, you know, it is one thing to look at the meter and see that your blood sugars is doing what it should be. You know, it might go up, but it goes right back down. And the reason why I think I got it back and started taking it again is because apparently my endocrinologist did a blood work on me last year, and she said it again this last time. She said, I have a, let me see if I can remember the wording. She said, I have a, some type of deal in my blood. I think it's, I can't think of the word, what it's called, but anyways, it's a deal that shows that I could potentially at one point, something big in my life can happen. And I could become a type 1 diabetic. Can't even talk. I could become a type 1 diabetic from type 2. And I didn't think that that could happen at one time in my life, but apparently your pancreas can finally give out. Yeah. And so the Mounjaro, I do take a nightly basal just to support my pancreas. So that way it doesn't have to work overtime. I do take the metformin still. I would rather not take any of that, but if it's going to support my pancreas where I don't have a situation comes up where, you know, it changes things for me, I'm going to go ahead and take what she has me taking. So I will say that she said that if your blood sugars go up and don't come back down, you need to let me know, because that could be a marker or an indicator something's going on. But so I've got that to kind of keep an eye on it. But I do like the little option in the app where you can see your average, you know, blood sugar, you know, and so I do that, and then I go to a website. I plug that into the A1C calculator, and if you type in your average, it'll tell you what your A1C is going to be. So it's pretty nice. So anyways, that's cool that you have that meter. I didn't know that you had one either. So Sean, welcome to the chat. Glad to have you today. He's down 62 pounds since April. His A1C is 7.2. or it was 7.2, and he's now down to 6.4. Awesome job, man, brother. Awesome job. Good job, man. Okay, so we're going to move to the next question.
Yeah.
How did you feel before you took Mounjaro? Now, I do know that you were dieting and stuff, so you're probably feeling okay. But before you started really doing that stuff, when you were taking your normal medications, the ups and downs, how did you feel?
You know, I think I was in such a headspace that it was all I'd known for 20 years, right? Over 20 years, it was just you take this stuff and that's how you treat it, you know?
Yeah.
And it was mostly controlled, but if you would have asked me a year and a half ago, you know, were things working for you? Yeah. Everything's fine. Everything's fine, you know? And now I was on 90 units of Lantus a day, 45 in the morning, 45 at night.
Wow,
and
that's a lot.
And see, I didn't even know if it was a lot, you know? I mean, it's so much of my diabetic life has been private. So is 90 a lot? I mean, is the next guy taking 200? I don't know.
Sure.
But in my mind, that was working.
Right.
When I got into this diet and started to lose weight, I started to realize that, you know, with my job, I'm on the road every other week. And just to pack my bag, the number of pills I was packing, and you had the insulin, you had the needles, you had like this checklist of stuff I had to make sure I had with me when I would go on the road for work.
Yeah.
And now I pack a few pills to last me the whole time. That's it. That's it. It's just one thing. I don't have needles anymore. I don't have the insulin to go with me. I just I take my shot on the weekend and I'm good, you know, and that was such a foreign idea to me. It didn't even seem possible. Like my life was just, hey, you got all these pills, you got these shots. That's just the way it is. But so at the time that I started taking Mounjaro, my life had already shifted a lot. But the packing thing, until I got onto Mounjaro, that hadn't hit me, you know, taking so much less medicine and just not having to pack all that stuff. I mean, it sounds like it's such a small area of your life, but that stuff adds up.
Yeah, it does. That's man, that's taxing, you know, and you know, a lot of people don't do this, but most people do, and they should. But you know, even trying to figure out how to cool your insulin and that type of stuff, you know, on the road, you know, I used to take the same type of medicine that you took. Now I take I was taking Tresiba, and now I take Toujeo. But I used to take Lantus at night, and I would take like 25 units. So when you said 90, I was like, holy cow. But you know, that's a good way of looking at it, because a lot of people just don't know how much the next guy's taking.
Yeah.
You know, one person could be taking 150, just depending on where they're at in life and their blood sugars and how they work. It's crazy, you know, and that just goes to show you more than anything, you know, being aware of what's out there. A lot of people that have diabetes, they still don't know Tom. They still don't know Todd. I cannot believe I called you Tom.
Okay, Chip. I mean, Chad.
Yeah, I've been called a lot of things, guys. So, you know, I answered all of them. I've heard this before, except for being late dinner. You know, a lot of people are not aware of what's out there. They don't know about Mounjaro. And so I've tried to be a megaphone to people on this channel, you know, in my community, friends, just, man, if you have type 2 diabetes, have you tried Mounjaro? If you're overweight, you know, have you tried Wegovy? The cool thing is that Mounjaro is about to be approved for obesity, you know, and so I don't know if they're going to actually call it, you know, Mounjaro. That it's probably going to have another name to it, but I'm excited about it because I know it's going to change people's lives. You know, when people have something that they can do one time a week, it's not overly crazy to have to do it every day. Give yourself a shot, you know, take a pill every day, do this. It's a one shot a week Todd, and you can lose weight and get yourself under control. And it's just crazy. It's absolutely mind blowing to me of where medication and pharmaceutical drugs are going. Like we're actually making a dent. We're moving forward. It's not just stupid stuff. I mean, it is expensive. I'm not going to lie, but it's actually something that's working and it's changing the course of the future for people with type 2 diabetes like us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think it's important that you're doing this type of work. It gives people a way to find out. I mean, there might be somebody out there taking Lantus and they don't know if they're taking a lot or not. I don't know if 90 was a lot, but it was more than you were taking.
Exactly.
They can kind of benchmark from the others and go, well, wait a minute, maybe there's something different I should be doing.
Exactly. And that's, this is all about community. It's why I do these shows. It's why I put the videos out. It's not like us creators make money, a lot of money on this, unless you're a big time creator. We do ask that, maybe if you want to out there help out with the channel, it does help with the time put in, because we put a lot of time in these, Todd. We put a lot of time. I'm a busy guy at work and I got a family and stuff, but my passion is so strong to help people that, I'm willing to do it for free. And, but every bit helps with bettering this channel. And, I take anything I get and I put it back in this channel to make it better, maybe better quality for the audio, better things that is just easier to get the message out. And, people need to hear hope. They need to know that there is hope for them. I'm not going to die like I thought in my 40s. Yeah. Now I still could die in my 40s. I can go out and get in a wreck today. I could just have a freak accident and die. But the idea of dying of complications with type 2 diabetes has just dramatically decreased since taking Mounjaro. I'm seeing all these other medical things that I have dealt with for years getting under control, all because of that one indicator. And it seems to me that when you start getting in shape, it seems like everything else in your life just starts falling apart, not falling apart. Gosh,
falling into place. Maybe
I'm trying to talk, but I don't want you to know what my thoughts are. No, my thoughts are just scattered out there. No, what I was trying to say is it seems like everything falls into place. When you start feeling better about yourself, you want to start taking care of other things in your life. You want to make sure that you get good sleep at night. Okay, so now that I have my blood sugars under control and I'm not urinating throughout the night, I want to make sure that I have good sleep. Now, if I have good sleep, I want to make sure that it helps me to have a great day with a good attitude. What can I do better today to make this day better than it was yesterday? And just, making a difference in people's lives, just having a good attitude. And, I've always kind of had this mentality of what you want to do is leave the person that you're talking to feeling better about themselves after they talk to you. How do you do that? How do you help them to feel better about themselves? And you take the shift off of you and put it on them and listen to them, let them talk, listen to their story. People, believe it or not, Todd, people like to talk about themselves.
Oh yeah.
They might not say it, but they do. And then there's nothing wrong with that. As long as we're not like being boastful and prideful and arrogant and stuff, I think there's a big, there's a fine line, but there is a line between confidence and arrogance. And you can be confident, but you don't have to be boastful and prideful and arrogant. You can feel good about yourself because, and I heard this the other day, and, I don't really talk about things like this on the channel as much as I probably should, but I was listening to my father-in-law preach the other night. He's a minister as well, but it was amazing. And it's just, I thought, dude, this is great. He said, think about everything in life, all the beautiful landscape. I mean, the Mona Lisa, all these, anything that people can look at and say, man, that is amazing. That looks amazing. Anything that you can wrap your mind around in this life, that's amazing. And to know that there was something that created it, right? But the thing is that, and what he did, this was awesome. He had he had one of those stands, and he had a picture on it, and he had a blanket over it, and he had people come up and say, I want you guys one at a time to come up and look at this picture, but don't tell nobody, and they'd go up there and he'd lift it up and they'd look at it, and then they'd walk on, and some of them he'd lift it up and some of them look at it and go, oh my gosh, and they'd go on, and some people would come up and go, oh my God. It was kind of funny, but the picture was a mirror. They were coming up looking at themselves in the mirror. And it's crazy because the scripture says, in the Bible, it says that we are God's handiwork. But he was saying that there's another spot, another translation. It says we are God's masterpiece. And to think that, when you start looking down on yourself, thinking you're worthless, and when you start looking at yourself and just looking at who you are, just remember who you really are. You're not worthless. You are a masterpiece. And when you look at everything else, that, you are the number one thing that God chose to call a masterpiece, So anyways, not trying to get all spiritual today, but I just, the thing of it is that we sometimes get so down on ourselves where we're at in life, but there's hope out there. There's hope. And I'm so glad and blessed that I found Mounjaro. I'm so glad that you're able to find Mounjaro, because now it's changing your life, and it's changing lives of people on this channel, and it's going to continue to change lives. And the cool thing is that when it does become approved by the FDA, there are going to be tons more people that's going to have life changes. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Anyway. And for those people out there that maybe they're not diabetic, but they do need to lose weight, it could be the kind of thing that prevents them from ever having that type 2 struggle.
Yep.
I may still be on medicine the rest of my life. I don't, some people are like, maybe you'll lose weight and you won't have to take it anymore. Sometimes, but when you've been diabetic for 25 years, I think there's already some damage done.
Right.
But there's a lot of people out there who don't have to have that struggle. And they just need to know that there's hope, that there's their life can be different.
Yeah.
I mean, if my life can be, you talked about, you were 300 pounds when I was in college, before I was ever diagnosed with diabetes, I was up to 315.
Wow.
I was 285 when I graduated high school.
Crazy.
The weight I'm at right now is between my freshman and sophomore year of high school.
Wow.
Life didn't have to be like it was for me.
Sure. That's crazy to think that also that I'm at the weight right now was when I moved up from 3rd grade. I was just kidding. No, wow. I wasn't that big of a boy, but I got up there. I got up there for sure. I was a big boy in high school, but that was 315. And to think what you look like now, it's just, it's absolutely just mind boggling and crazy to think of the transformation. Okay. So, your starting weight when you did get on Mounjaro. I know this is kind of an unfair question because you were on a diabetic or a weight loss program before. But where were you at? And then tell everybody again where you're at now.
Well, I started at 258 when I got onto this program, but then when I started Mounjaro, I was at 200. So I'd already lost, like the morning that I had my doctor's appointment, I was 200.8 pounds. So I had already lost 58 pounds. The lowest I got was 186. But as of today, I'm 195. I've come up about 10 pounds from my lowest, but I've been doing a lot more like push-ups in the morning. I've been walking more. I've been lifting weights. So I'm starting to build muscle back onto my frame, and I'm trying not to get hung up on the number too much.
Yeah. And now I could be wrong, but did you tell me one time you did some push-ups out in a parking lot?
Yeah. I've done them.
You are dedicated. He's getting gas and he gets down when he's pumping gas and gives himself some.
I committed to doing 50 every day, and I realized that I hadn't gotten all 50 of them in, and I'm like, oh, I got to do this now.
Yeah.
So I was pumping gas, get down and get the rest of them out, man. I think I had like 20 left to do, so pounded them out.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, that's and I guess I got a question for you. What was your requirements and restrictions when you were taking that diet the diet that you were doing before Mounjaro? Was it very restrictive, and did you have very much freedom in it, or did you kind of feel like, man, this is going to be hard to keep up with the rest of my life?
One of the coaches in the program, the weight loss phase is for a period of time, right? Usually about 4 to 6 months. And if you can take 6 months and undo 10 years worth of treating your body badly, would you do that? And so when I signed on to it, man, I was all in. It didn't matter how much of a pain it was. I was going to make it work.
Yeah.
And, but what I found was it was actually a lot easier than I expected. Cause I do eat 6 times a day now. So every 2 to 3 hours, I'm having something to eat. And I'm not sitting down to a buffet, right? But I'm having a bar, a high protein type of a bar or a shake. And then 1 meal a day, you're going to eat a meal. And there's some restrictions, right? You want to make sure you have enough protein. You want to make sure you have enough vegetables. You want to make sure you have the nutrition in it, but in a proportional way. And it really, I'm not going to say I wasn't ever hungry in the first couple of weeks. In the first couple of weeks, yeah, your body is used to. Give me a big meal, man. We do big meals. That's what we do. But after that first couple of weeks, I mean, it really wasn't bad. It's amazing. You get into that rhythm and you start making that a habit, and it just works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Well, so I think we're pretty much at the end of the questions. You answered most of them that I already had on here. So, Todd, before we go, is there anything that you could share with the audience that would be beneficial and help them out? Something that maybe you haven't spoke about today, something that they can take something more and go with it, that could help them out. What would you say?
I would say, I think one of the ways that Mounjaro helps people, I mean, it helps you lose weight. I mean, it slows your digestion and it helps you feel full so you don't eat more. What it's doing is changing little habits, right? That I want to eat just a little bit more at this time because I usually do. There's all sorts of those little habits that if you can just pay attention to those, big changes can come. And it doesn't have to be earth shattering in terms of changes, but small incremental changes, man. Move a little bit more today and a little bit more tomorrow. Over the course of a year, where does that take you? So I would say just focus on those little things for your body. Every time you go to put something in your mouth, take a second to think about it. Why am I eating this?
Yeah.
What's this going to do for me? When it's time to go to bed, do I really want to just watch another TV show, or should I go to bed and make sure I get rest?
That's good.
Little choices, man. Pay attention to the little ones.
That's good, man. That's good. For sure. We definitely need to take advantage of this time where it does curb our appetite to make better decisions, especially even when it comes to portion sizes. For me, it was a big deal. So, well, Todd, we've reached the end of the show. I know we kind of went over, but that's fine. I told you we're going to have a good time on here. We're just going to talk all things GLP, diabetes, weight loss related. And so I appreciate you so much for coming in and joining on the show, all the way from Illinois. It was a great time, man. And, if you ever want to come back on the show, you're welcome. So
absolutely.
Anyways,
thank
you guys all have a great holiday. Happy Halloween. If you got kids out there, make sure you take them to some trunk or treats and get some good candies for them. Make sure you don't eat any unless you're on Mounjaro. No, I'm just joking. Anyways, guys, well, we'll go ahead and let you go, guys. Thank you so much. And we'll catch you on the next stream. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you, guys.